So I think the recording and okay. So I think the recording should have started now. So like I said, we will just be as mentor, we'll be providing the guidance, the resources, advice, and I mean for you to learn yourself. And if you have any problem or any issue, you can discuss within the group. And I mean, the mentor will pick it up. And I mean, we provide training materials for you depending on your interest. If you want to become a data scientist, for example, we will have like a roadmap or like courses that you need to do by yourself. And if you have an issue along the line, you can always seek advice and seek help. And I mean, we'll help each other in achieving each other. I mean, our interests. So that after the training, we'll try to also help you looking at your giving you feedback if you want to do an interview or after your interview or maybe mock interview. We can help you with that, and also building your portfolio and looking at your CV. And I mean, in the group as well, member can always share vacancies or opportunity related to all this area, all these roles that I've mentioned. So, I mean, that just improve. We'll still, I mean, update the intro to the group. So, but for now, I will just give it to the speaker who is going to discuss who is going to give, I mean, his talk on how to navigate into the industry from the perspective of a data engineer, because each one of us has, I mean, maybe different perspective or how we were able to navigate and find ourselves in the industry. So, and the speaker is Mr. Tajuddin Abdulaziz, a senior data science engineer at Bayer, United States of America. So, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me first share my screen. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So I will say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone wherever you are. So thank you for being here today. I'm also very excited to share my experience on how I was able to navigate into tech industry. So specifically from the perspective of a data engineer. So I'm a data engineer, so I will focus more on career paths that that you can follow to become a data engineer. So you don't even you don't need to be one thing I always a graduate of a computer scientist or an IT guru to actually we'll go a little bit deeper into how you can, even coming from a different field, how you can follow your path if you are self-motivated to actually get into tech. There are some laid down paths that you can follow irrespective of your background. So let me give a little bit about a little bit introduction about myself. Um, my educational background, I have a bachelor degree in geology. As you can see, I don't have. I started my career not as a computer scientist. So later on, I have a certificate in GIS and remote sensing, MS in applied data science. But my first ever job was as a scientific officer at Energy Commission of Nigeria. Then when I moved into the US, that shows this also highlights some of my career paths, right? I started as an intern. Then after doing an intern for almost 1 year, then I got another role as a data analyst or GIS analyst, working with Apple for almost about 2 years before landing another role as a data management technician. at Sacramento Sewer District. So eventually, after that, I got my first data engineer role at Bayer as a contractor. So that would be a little bit about me. And based on this part, we'll be able to talk through how I was able to navigate into data engineers and what you can follow for you to also do the same. Then, if you really want to know more about me, my LinkedIn profile is here. You can also go to my LinkedIn profile too. So now let's look into the overview of the tech landscape. One thing that is very certain is the tech industry is very dynamic and is ever evolving. And we also need to understand that there is various domains, including software development, data science, data engineer, cybersecurity, Q&A. So there's a lot of them. But because of the rapid advancement in technology, and I know a lot of us will be familiar with it, you might be hearing a lot of AI, there's a lot of rapid advancement in this tech industry. So there is always demand for skilled professionals. So that means if you following this career path, there's almost certainly that there is demand. The market, there is a room for you to also get into the market. But because I'm going to be focused more on the data engineer career path, now most of you might be hearing of a data engineer. Some people, maybe this might be the first time hearing a data engineer. You might be curious about what do a data engineer actually do? Who is a data engineer? So let me give you a high level idea of how a day-to-day job of a data engineer actually look like. So let's look at the role of a data engineer. Data engineers in companies are people that mostly they design, develop, manage infrastructures, architectures, and also all the tools necessary for collecting, storing, and managing large volume of data. So if you want to go a little bit more into most of their key responsibilities, I know there are some terms that you start coming across people saying ETL. What the hell is ETL? So it's one of the terms that you'll be hearing. ETL means extract, transform, and load. So what this means is, as a data engineer, you might need to get some data from somewhere. So this might be a database, it might come in kind of streaming. You will get to know more about all this later. So now, getting the data might also require some kind of transformation, because if you get, let's say you get information from somewhere and the format at which you are getting this is different from the format where you think the users is going to use it, that will provide more value to the users. So that means it will require some kind of transformation. It will require modifying or structuring the data in a way that will best be useful for those that will actually use it. And when we say we store, well, it's more about storing in the form of a database. We have different kind of database. That would be another topic if you want to go more really. So um, irrespective of where you're storing data, you also need to manage it. And that's where the database management also come in for a data engineer. So data modeling is another key responsibility. So this is when a data engineer puts the data in a way that provide high value or impact for those that in the format that provide more impact for those that will be consuming the data. So and that's where eventually be hearing of data warehouse, in which you can even have different kind of modeling approach. Depending on your business functions or your business use case, that will also help you in making decision which modeling approach you want to take. Then, as a data engineer, you also need to ensure the integrity and quality of your data. That's one key things because
ẹ̀ ń pariwo síbi ẹ̀ ń pa kí ló ń ṣe yín.
if the quality of the data is compromised, then it will affect the decision making. It will affect the information you are extracting from this data, which in a long time affect uh, uh, your decision, right? So ensuring these data are of the highest quality. There is a popular language that says garbage in, garbage out. If you put in data that is not quality, your decision will also not be as quality as you might think. So now, having said that, people will ask what you might be asking, what are the prerequisites for me if I want to go through this part? What are the prerequisites, right? Well, people will tell you, and having a degree in computer science, information technologies, or related fields might be very important, but it's not a mandatory. You can as well use some kind of online courses. I'm going to go through the roadmap of the specific skills you need to learn to give you that kind of foundations. Then you also need to know that continue learning through online courses like Coursera, Udemy, EDX, attending workshops, getting certification will also help you to build your education foundation. So the technical skills, on the area of the technical skills, well, programming is very crucial. So one of the key programming language, if you are just coming, that I can recommend for you to learn is Python. Because when you learn Python, irrespective of the domain you want to go, let's say eventually that will be the first thing, right? Let's say you don't want to be a data engineer, you want to be a data scientist, it's also a very good tool for you. You don't want to be a data scientist, you want to be a machine learning engineer, it's also a very useful tool for you. So as part of the foundation, at least learning a programming language is also a key. And that's one of the first thing I did. The first language that I learned when I'm trying to dive into this part is Python, and it has proven very useful for me. Then understanding SQL is another key because as a data engineer, you need to get some information out of the database or put information into a database. And the popular language used to extract information from all these databases are called SQL. So you need to learn SQL. And another thing, because we are in the world of a big data, familiarizing yourself with big data terminology will also help you in this career path. So another thing is the problem solving and the critical thinking. So those skills are soft skills that will also help you in this career path, and also paying a very good attention to details. Because you might need to engage different stakeholders, you might need to engage business users, you need to understand, you need to have a very strong communications and how to collaborate with all these different stakeholders because all these different stakeholders speak different language. Then you coming from a technical background, how can you communicate with business users to understand you and try to understand what you're trying to present, maybe the product you're trying to present to them. So, and it's going to be useful for them. So, having that skills to work with different people with different skills will also help you in this career path. Because as a data engineer, you will engage different people, different domain with different kind of skills. Now, let's dive into the roadmap. How can you because a journey, people will popularly say, a journey of 1,000 miles begin with just a step. Let's look at the first step that you can take. So you remember we talked about having some kind of core computer science background. So if you are not coming from a computer science background, one of the skills that you need to learn is statistics and probability. So there's a lot of online course that can get you up to speed with these specific skills. There are free YouTubes. At the end of this slide, I'm going to provide some kind of free resources that can help you get up to speed. Then having a basic understanding of linear algebra,
Wọ́n náà ń pariwo sí mi. Wọ́n
those
pẹ̀lú
are the
ìgbọ̀ngàn
first
àgbàdo record.
steps that you need to take. Then the next step will be to learn programming language. So you can choose,
Ó
you
mú
don't need to
àìsàn ọ̀rọ̀ ẹ
learn
jáde níta ẹ̀.
multiple programming language at the same time. You can start with one. I can recommend you start with Python because that's what I started with, because it's easy to learn, easy to understand, and it can be used in a lot of places. You can use it in cybersecurity in so many places, as a tool. So after that, you need to learn SQL, because you remember I said that you need to query information from database. You might need to put information in database. So once you have all these skills, then you need to start learning more about the data management skills, acquire more of these data management skills, which like data architectures, data warehousing, right? Which is another, all these are key things that we can choose as a subtopic to talk about in the futures. Data pipeline, because you know that, we're talking about moving data from somewhere to another places where it's going to be used. All these pipelines needs to be live in real times. And how can you manage all this? Right. There's a lot of things that you need to understand. Cloud infrastructure, data governance, like, well, who need to have access to certain data sets, who don't need to have access to certain. So all these things are skills that you can now start building on. So I will still later on I will tell you because you can don't be overwhelmed with all these skills. Depending on the domain, can streamline where you actually want to focus more to be an expert within that skills. So now, for you to build a solid foundations, because it's very important, for you to build a solid foundations, you should always remember these three acronyms: gain, participate, and build. What do I mean? So now, once you remember those three acronyms, gain, participate, and build, you need to gain a very strong understanding of the core concept in computer science and data management. You remember we talked about um, programming, understanding data structures, understanding all these core principle of data management. Once you gain that concept, then you need to participate in internship projects, open source, so that you can apply all what you learn theoretically into a real world scenarios. And that's how, if you remember when I was introducing myself, when I first moved to the US, I started as an intern because it's very easy for you to get into a company as applying for an internship than applying for the real job, right? So that's a place that you can quickly gain some kind of technical experience. So now, after that, you need to build a portfolio. So you need to build a portfolio that will showcase your project and skills. So there are so many ways. There are so many projects that you can put out there. If you're familiar with GitOps, there's so many projects you can put there. This will showcase the kind of skills that you have, and that doesn't limit to that. So another thing is you need to also work on networking and industrial involvement. So those are These are all these can give you a very solid foundation in this industry. So attend meetups. You will see a lot of data science meetup, data engineering meetup, business analyst meetup. Attend, attend all these webinars and try to understand the trend in the industry, right? Try to understand what is new, what are the people doing, right? Because this industry, tech industry, is evolving every day, day in, day out. So now, join online forums and communities, e.g., like have a GitHub, join Stack Overflow to connect with different professionals in different fields. Another good thing that will also help is for you to build a professional network through platform like LinkedIn. You need to show your presence on LinkedIn, right? Connect with people that you think maybe your focus is to go into some kind of industry. Try to follow people within that industry so that you can actually see what is going on, the trend that is going on in the industry, and um, you can even see when some of them are posting vacancy. Then after getting all these skills, you need to start somewhere. Starting somewhere, as I said, is always good for you to seek internship to gain practical experience. Then when you are applying, you can start applying after you've already built a project, you showcase your projects and all this. Then you can start applying to entry level positions that align with the skills and your interests. But don't forget, during the interview, you need to lay emphasis on your problem solving skills and you need to lay emphasis that you can collaborate with people to solve problems. Your emphasis should be on that. With that, that will really help you navigating through this career path, which has helped me too. So continue learning and professional development because you remember we said this is an industry that is always evolving. Then you need, even though after getting your job, you need to keep learning. You need to stay up to date with the industry trends and the emerging technology. Another thing is also you can also pursue some kind of advanced certifications like Google Cloud, AWS. That will also be able to, you can use that to showcase the kind of skills that you have. So then I don't know if some of you are familiar with some of the Coursera's, Udemy. So keep learning online from all these online online classes, attend workshops and conferences. That will also help you to network and build a good relationship and even understand the latest trends in the industry. With all this, as you are navigating through this path, you will come across a lot of challenges. And how can you overcome these challenges? That's one of the purposes that we are also here together. So we're talking about overcoming challenges, right? So now, in order to overcome, because as you are navigating through this career path, no doubt you will come across a lot of challenges. But the first thing is you need to first acknowledge and embrace your learning curve. Then seek mentorship from experienced professionals. All these can help you to overcome most of all these challenges. Then you personally, you need to develop some kind of resilience and adaptability in face of challenges. Because let me tell you something, most especially when you start learning programming, there might be some times that you might be dealing with some bugs that might eventually take you like even 1 week. You'll be confused.
Yeah,
Can I understand this? Can I?
yeah,
But you see, with time, right? So that's why you need to leverage your professional connection. They can quickly guide you. And as they are guiding you, it's helping you to also build your foundation. Ask questions, leverage on Stack Overflow, leverage on your network, leverage on this channel that we have, or this WhatsApp group. So, and that's why we will be there to also try to do our best to help. Then, if in data, let me now. So, there are different diverse parts in data engineering, right? Because data engineering role exists in different sectors, and depending on the sector you have, the kind of skills that might be needed might be different. Somebody focusing in finance, might be dealing with different kind of data, healthcare, e-commerce, there are different domains that you can work as a data engineers. But for you personally, you might need to first narrow down the domain. Well, you can start thinking of, okay, which domain do I? So now you start looking at some specific areas, such as you might be looking like, oh, do I want to specialize in streaming data? I want to specialize more in machine learning engineering or cloud data engineering. So that will give you that proper guide on where you need to focus more or where you need to start learning more. Yeah, you need to put it like a kind of scale of preference with all these skills. So now, with all this being said, I can now conclude, and I can now conclude that for you to navigate into tech, irrespective of whether you want to be a data engineer, business analyst, or data scientist, irrespective of the area or the path you want to follow, it requires the combination of education, practical experience, and continual learning. You need to keep learning, because this is not a field that whereby you learn something today. If you come tomorrow, you need to learn new things, right? Even things change within the industry. You might be using one technology today, another technology will come tomorrow. How do you select all these different technologies? How can you do your trade-off? Like, look at the cost benefit analysis, right? For you to select the right tools. All these are also kind of skills that you build upon with experience. Then you need to embrace challenges, stay curious, and leverage networking opportunity. Those are the things that you can use to be successful in this career path. Now, that will mark to the end of this presentation. But one more thing before people start coming with question and answer. We also have some resources here that you can start using to gain the skills that you think you required, that can kickstart you, right? Most of them are free. Some of them you might need to pay. If you have any questions,
So,
it's
okay, yeah, I think, thanks for the, uh, the laudable and very interesting talk. We appreciate your effort in trying to put this in place as a guidance for people that are trying to break into the industry, that want to become data engineer, and also, splitting the data engineering into categories and interests is quite also, something that is interesting and good to know. So I will now open the floor to people that want to ask questions. Maybe they want to become, because some people here might not know what they want to become. Right now, they don't know whether they want to become data scientists, they want to become data analysts, they want to become data engineer, they want to become machine learning engineer, AI engineer. There are a lot of, all those tech roles that you can one can mention. So yeah, but with time, this can be can sound like something that is quite new to some people, but with time you get familiar with it. And one thing that you can do as well is that, like I mentioned, that it's your self motivation and self determination and self commitment that can actually propel you to get into this industry. Because uh, what we can do is just to give you guidance from our own side. But it's just like they said, you can take donkey to the to the sea or to the water, but you can't force the donkey to drink. So I will just open the floor now to people that want to ask questions. I think somebody is there. I mean, two people. So uh, Sunday you can go on.
Mm, Thank you so much, Tajuddin. I don't know if I got that pronunciation very well. It was very. Hello, can you hear me, please? I'm
Yes,
somewhere in
definitely
a bit
we can hear you.
Yes.
remote, in a remote place. I'm off home right now, so thank you for that presentation. It's quite insightful. The inspiration and the motivation. Um, One question I want to ask. I know you did mention earlier on about Udemy. You mentioned about Coursera, and then lately you mentioned about this science dream job. So for a starter, so which of them will you want to recommend? Is it going for Udemy first, or Coursera, or Data Boot Job Boot, or this later one? So in terms of prioritizing them, what would be your recommendation for a new starter?
Should we just answer
Yeah, yeah.
this
You,
first question?
you can go on. You can answer the first question and.
So I think I will try to, maybe Dr. Sharif can also chip in there. So um I would say it depends, right? If you have the money to join data science dream job, you will still follow the same path, because they will still tell you the good thing about them is they will guide you on each step, the skills based on what you're trying to become. Like, okay, let's say you're trying to become a data engineer or data science. They tell you this is the skills, and they give you different links to all these resources where you can learn those skills. But where I find data science dream job very useful and very, very helpful, it is uh, when you're trying to showcase your projects, right? They have a lot of walkthrough, um, a real time that's very close to the industry. They have a different kind of walkthroughs, and they have like, it's more or less like another kind of mentorship, right? Which they have, like telling you like how to um, be successful in the interviews, to give you different kind of scope. But what I will tell you is there's so many resources out there. In short, sometimes, since we itemize all the skills that you need, sometimes you might even leverage YouTube, which is free, right? So depending on your financial capability, not necessary to start paying for all this, but you can start somewhere. And starting somewhere is for you to know where you want to start, which is part of what we're talking here. Know the skills. So let's say, for example, you want to learn statistic and probability, you can as well learn it on YouTube, right? So you know all these skills that you need to learn. You can start from one. If you want to learn Python, you can decide to learn it on Coursera, or you can decide to learn it on YouTube, or you can even buy books. So I would say it depends on individuals, right? So I want Dr. If you want to chip in more into that question.
Okay, okay. So I think you've said it all, and I cannot agree more than what you've said. So it depends on your financial capability as well. I mean, first and foremost, but not necessarily these days. there are a lot of free resources out there that you don't necessarily need to pay for anything. There are a lot of things. And one of those things that we are trying to do as well is just to help you as much as possible. Maybe with time, what we'll do is to have like a list of courses for maybe if you want to become data engineer, like Mr. Tajudin has also made an effort to point you through some of those courses. And for those people that want to become business analysts, I mean, we have Mr. Ibrahim and Mr. Sunday, who are senior business analysts. They can come up with, guideline. And for myself, like for data science and machine learning engineer and AI, I mean, I can also come up with something that you can follow little by little. And this is like a day-to-day learning. You have to be learning continuously, like the speaker rightly said. It's not. It's something that is not easy when you are just starting. It's not easy, right? Because something new that you're trying to venture into, and if you have those, can do attitude and being resilient, like the speaker rightly said, you need to be patient. Patient. Even as senior data scientists, we write code in company, we still need to debug it. Writing code is quite easy, but debugging takes a lot of time and fixing issues, bugs, and all those stuff. So you need to be patient. Though there's no shortcut to it, no hurry or something, no rushing. So you need to learn. If you take your time to learn the fundamental properly, don't jump the gun. Just take your time, learn it properly, and because there's no shortcut, it's not like I want to make a 2-1 or I want to make a first class. I can pay somebody out there to do it for me. You need the practical experience. You do things by yourself. If you're watching YouTube, like the speaker rightly said, try and you are watching Python, you're not just watching. Try and type all those things. Maybe there's going to be an error when you're doing your whole. You wouldn't know, not just watching and just looking at it. So there are a lot of things. It involves practical experience. It involves you also trying to get your hand dirty. I mean, that's the language we use in the industry that you need to do. So no, I mean, in the nutshell, what I'm saying is that not necessarily you need to, because some of those courses are quite expensive. They will be like several thousands of dollars or something, or pounds. So, but they are free resources. I mean, God willing, we're going to come up with all those things that you can just try and be learning little by, gradually. And for course, for Udemy, they are not expensive. There are some Udemy courses that you need to do, maybe 20 pounds or 30 pounds or so. So, but with time, we'll try and find time to create those. So we are just trying to prepare your mind, into what you want to venture into first. And once you know what you want to do, I pray that God help us and help you to also, achieve your goal and your interests. So I think there's another person that wanted to ask question. Fatima, yeah, somebody Fatima. You can go on.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon. Good evening,
Right.
wherever. Thank you for the platform. I just have a couple of questions to quickly ask. So the first one is the speaker made mention of going into like programming language and all of that, right? So I want to ask, like, okay, I have a computer science background actually, but I'm trying to like move away from coding and all of that. So I want to find out, like, if you don't want to be like a data engineer or a data scientist, maybe you just want to start like being just a data analyst, actually, like entry level, then see where that takes you. Do you necessarily need to use a programming language for that? Um, that's one. And the second one
Okay, let's
is
let's take
towards
one
the
after the other. Let's answer the
okay,
question.
sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Okay.
Okay.
So let me answer it this way.
Okay.
Even as a data engineer, because that's why I said that the technology is evolving in this space.
Okay.
Even as a data engineer, there are so many tools out there that you can also perform your job without knowing programming. But let me say this, irrespective of um, if you want to be a business analyst, you want to be data engineer, having knowledge of a Python. Python is also like a tool, free, that is there. Having that knowledge will add more values to you. Even though if you're a data analyst, you might end up not using it, but having that foundation knowledge, but most especially somebody coming from a computer science background, building that solid foundation, understanding at least sometimes your work might not require you day to day to be writing those programs. I agree. But if you are just trying to come into the industry, learning at least one programming language will be very, very valuable. That's why Python is easy to learn, and that will give you that solid foundation. But saying that, can you do most of the job without programming? Yes, you can. Even you can do machine learnings without programming. There is NIME. There's a tool called NIME. It's just there's a lot of tools, right? Out there. With, so you can do a lot of things these days because of the technology advancements, right? Without, but just open your mind to, even though you're struggling with it, open your mind to learn, have the commitment that, oh, I want to learn these skills, right? That will also be beneficial to you. At least learning one, because in the tech industry, even though if you, there are so many, whichever functions you go into, Python can add value to you. That's why I'm recommending maybe you can learn Python.
Okay, sorry. So
So
does
so so
Python
so
like
let me
does
let
it
me
do the same thing as Java? Because I actually I have like a foundation knowledge of Java now. So is it the same? Because I saw it in the slide.
I think I mean Java is a different language, but let me just add something, and I think the business analyst here can also chip in some comments. So you have
Okay.
non-technical and technical roles within the IT industry. So you can have like I mean we've had a talk from a business analyst perspective, who is also here, Mr. Ibrahim, and so he, as a business analyst, you might not necessarily, if you are just doing, I mean, non-technical part of the role, you might not need it. But as a data analyst, you would definitely need a programming language, which is, and the one that is generally acceptable. I mean, that is uh, used in the industry is Python. I use Python every day, and as if you want to become data scientist or data engineer as well, you need programming language. There's no way about it. I don't know if there's no, you cannot become a engineer except you are maybe a cloud engineer that you use AWS, you are clicking button, but I mean they're still, I mean they prefer doing things programmatically, like using something from command line and all those stuff as well. So you can't do away with it. And I mean, you just have to, unless you want to become maybe business, you want to, I mean, you can break to the industry by just becoming a business intelligence or business analyst first, and down the line, you can just be upskilling. I will give the floor to Mr. Ibrahim to add something, and Dr. Sunday, if they want to add to what I've said regarding business analyst and business intelligence. Mr. Ibrahim first.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I agree with what the earlier panelists have said. However, I just want to add that, like in my own role, I work as a systems analyst, and it combines both the role of a data and business intelligence analyst with a business analyst. So what I've realized, that means there are times I work as a non-technical IT professional, and there are times that I really develop reports, build business intelligence solutions. So I think is in terms of, if you are interested in being a data analyst, you need to learn Python. However, I always advise people to learn Excel, SQL, and a business intelligence solution,
Power BI, tablet.
Power BI. So which is a visualization tool. So that's why I always advise people first, because a lot of people are always scared about programming. But I think everyone will align with me on this call that there's none of this field you want to go into that you don't need SQL, because even when you don't extract data from the database, you need to understand how the database works, how data is being extracted from the database. Then even if a data engineer shares the SQL query with you, you need to be able to apply it. You need to understand what you are extracting from database, or the kind of report you are building. So as a data analyst, if you can learn Excel very well, the good thing about Excel is that some organizations use only Excel only now. They have not even embraced the business intelligence tools. But if you learn Excel well, SQL, and Power BI, and you have a lot of projects that you can showcase in terms of your portfolio on any of these three, then you can now learn Python as you start working in the industry, or gradually. So it's a case by case basis. So, but you need to also be open to learning
Yeah,
Python. So I don't know what the challenge might be, but if you have a technical background, I think you have an advantage, because if you have read data science, or maybe your challenge may be what you read at school. So, like I've had this conversation with Dr. Bankole before. So there's a complete departure from many a times what you learn at your data science degree and what is applicable in the industry. Many a times there might be a complete departure. So you might be discouraged by the fact that maybe you learned these programming languages while in school and you didn't like the way it went. But having said that, if you learn Excel, Power BI, and SQL very well, and you do a lot of projects, then you can learn Python as time goes on. So that's just my own perspective. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you very much for that contribution. So, uh, I mean, in a nutshell, what I would just say, just be open minded. Don't freak out. Don't be scared
Okay.
of anything. I mean, I can, if anybody can do it without going through computer, without being a computer scientist or going through computer background, you can do it. It's just like driving or something. Everything will just
So,
become like toy. If you, I mean, if you are, by the time you start, maybe if you are driving now, I mean, but the first time you start, you say, how will I be able to maneuver and all those things? But by the time you become an expert with it, so don't you just try to be open minded. You can
I,
you can
I,
just take one step at a time, maybe one chapter, because I mean you, like, you can learn in different way. Maybe you get Python, like, I mean, I always recommend Python for everybody, or Python scratch course. Like, you take one chapter, look at it, try and type all those code, understand it yourself, you digest it. By the time you do that several times, you know it, because you know this is what you're going to be used day in, day out. Don't cut corners. So,
All right. Thank you. Thank
okay,
you so much
so
for
your
that
second
answer.
question, if you.
So my second question is you mentioned domains like that you can be in finance, healthcare, engineering and all of that. So the second question now is, are these being a data analyst or a scientist, or do you do like the same thing? Is it that it is the data that differs, or they are all different in their own way? Like being a data analyst or a data engineer in healthcare, it differs entirely from being in a data analyst and engineer in finance and engineering. I'm just trying to understand that, is it the data that you manage that differs, or they are all different in their own way, like the way you do the work?
So I'll
Thank
give it to
you.
the speaker to just say something about it. And if anybody have any comment,
So,
yeah.
yeah, thank you very much. So, yeah, you know, um, it's still at a very high level anyway. But if you look at different domain, what actually different is the kind of data that you will be dealing with. Because you can be dealing in some companies, you might be dealing with high frequency data. So the kind of tools that you'll be using might be different your choice of tool selection might be different when you are dealing in healthcare than when you are dealing with time series data. But being a data engineer in any of these discipline or data science is no different, right? But as a data engineer, one of your key responsibility again is tool selections, right? Those are the skills that you will learn. If you want to become a data engineer, there are some things that you need to know. How do you select the right tools, right? Do you connect all these components together? That will also be domain specific because if you are dealing with a time series data, well, your choice of tool selection might be completely different when you are dealing with spatial, maybe imagery, when you are dealing with imagery, or when you are dealing with healthcare. So I think that would be a little bit, but sometimes even some domain might even cut across all these different kind of data. It doesn't mean that because you're in healthcare, because sometimes they might also need to do with image data, they might also need to deal with different kind of data. So I would say being a data engineer is a data engineer, right? But if you look at the specialization that I said because what we're saying is where do you want to start, right? So if you let's say for example you look at oh, I wanted to okay, so let's say for example you want, because when you want to join a company, you want to have one area that you are expert, right? A go-to in that domain. Let's say, for example, you expert in streaming data, right? So if if you're looking into some companies that deal with if you let's say I want to go venture into finance, right? So that means I want to learn more about how will I handle a time series data. Because in finance, they will be dealing a lot with time series data. They will be dealing with some kind of forecasting and all this kind of thing. So I want to learn more about that. But that doesn't mean the skills that I need might be different from when I want to be in a different sector. So you all do almost similar things as a data engineer, but the only difference might be your choice of tool set. That's the only difference. So you as a data engineer, you also need to think based on your use case, what kind of tools can be suitable for that use case, right? What kind of infrastructures you want to put in place. That will depend on your domain or the kind of data you are dealing with.
So, just want to add to this that for people like you that are just starting, just trying to figure out what to do, don't think too much about these different field of data engineering. I think the fundamentals is just quite important at this time. Like for a data engineer, like what the speaker mentioned, that you need to know SQL, you need to know Python, you need to know all those fundamental programming and skills that you need to acquire, regardless of whether you are working in finance, regardless of whether you are working with streaming data, you still use the same language and all these fundamentals. So you can build on it. It doesn't take time. If you know all these fundamentals very well, within 1 week, you can learn, I mean, maybe Spark or something to do your streaming and, I mean, all those tools that are built on top of Python or something. So, but you need to get the fundamental right. So I think,
All right.
we've answered all your question, right?
Yes, you have. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, so over to, I think, the next person on the that is raising his hand is Olawale. You have the floor.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Tajudin and Mr. Sharif, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, my question here basically is so I have two questions. So the first one to Mr. Tajudin. So, what system requirements would you recommend? for someone who actually wants to pick up a tool like Python, basically.
So over to you.
Okay, I think if I get your question very well, you're talking about the PC, the kind of computer,
Yes, the PC. Yes, yes.
Configuration.
oh, configuration. Oh, okay, okay. Um, I would say as far as you can use any of your computer, right? Um, so requirements will differ based on what you are doing and based on the amount of processing you are doing. But if you are starting, you don't need to worry about going to spend money or high processing computer or something like that. You can start with the computer that you have, right? Whatever computer, whether Windows, Mac, you can start using that one to learn. Because when you start learning, most of it will be basics. So, and you won't start doing a lot of processing that will require a lot of CPU, you know. So I would say, whatever one that you have, you can start using that.
So just
Then,
okay. All right.
okay,
I mean, just to add to that, like you mentioned specifically Python. If you want to learn Python, I mean, regardless of the configuration of the computer that you have, you don't need the high spec. Even on the cloud, like Google Cloud and Google
mhm,
Colab, you can do some Python programming there. And
mhm,
even in the industry, right, they don't give high spec computer like that if you're working for them, because most of the thing you'll be doing maybe is on cloud. So I mean, they just give you maybe something of maybe 32 gig or 16 gig RAM or something. So it's not something, even 8 gig RAM is enough. Your uh,
mhm,
regardless of the configuration of your computer, you can do something. And if you are learning, you don't need to just try with huge data. Even if you want to stream, just try those
mhm,
scripts and try with little, I mean, small amount of data, and see that whether it works or not. So you don't need to try it on large data set or something that you say you need high spec computer configuration. So you write your program and see whether it works, because you are doing development. We call it development. So it's not into production. You're just trying to experiment. So just with little and see whether your script work, and you shut down the thing and see that everything is working very well.
Okay, thank you very much. So the reason why I asked is that my system is actually 4 gig RAM. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just want to know if
yeah. That's
it's able
okay.
to.
4 gig RAM doesn't. Yeah, it's
Just
and you,
okay.
as Dr. Sharif has earlier said, you don't even need to install things. There's what they call Google Colab that he said you can actually use that from your browser to learn, so that you don't install
Yeah,
additional
you are not
things.
installing anything. You are just starting. You can use, I mean, all those uh, Google Colab or the likes that are free. You just try and
Mhm,
program. You are not installing anything. Later, you have IDE, maybe Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, or some other stuff. Because later on, you will not just be writing scripts. You'll be writing in modules as you progress in your learning. So, but that with your computer configuration, you can still do that.
Okay, I already have VS Code though. I use it sometimes for front end. Okay, so my second question is also actually to Mr. Sheriff. So you mentioned at initially when you introduced the group basically for tech professionals. So I also want to ask if you mentioned BAs basically, but I want to ask if people in PM roles like project and product managers also have a space here, because that's my domain also too, and I've been there for quite a long time in the finance sector. So are we also going to be having a space in the tech community
I mean,
though? Because
yeah,
sometimes people
yeah,
do
yeah,
forget us.
yeah, you're welcome. If you've been working in that area, I mean, you're welcome, and you can be mentors to people. And if you also need some, I mean, do you have a have you been able to get a role in the UK, or what stage are you presently?
Okay, yeah. So currently, I'm still looking forward to getting a role in product management. So what I do basically is more or less like a product support. We support one of the financial products,
Okay.
but not a core product management role like what I did back then in Nigeria. But currently I'm also volunteering in one of the NGOs here as a project manager. Basically, just doing that at part time, just to also fill that gap
Yeah, I think
while I'm actually looking for
yeah, I
core
think you're
product.
doing the right thing by volunteering. That will also add to your professional experience, especially within the Western world, UK or I mean US or I mean in general Europe. So and in case you need our input in any way, maybe with something to discuss, be feedback or something, you can always count on us. Our doors are open.
Okay, thank you very much. And the reason why I actually joined basically is to start building a career path in AI product management, basically. So, and I quite understand that Python basically is actually one of the core tools that I actually need to pick up and also to sharpen my SQL. So that was why I actually joined.
Is that all from you? So
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
God's willing, I mean, God's willing, because everything, may God make it possible. And we want everyone, I mean, most people that are dedicated to get in the industry, whatever little thing that we can do, we pray that God assists us to be able to do it. So, Mr. Ibrahim want to add some comment, I think. Mr. Ibrahim,
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, we're with you.
Okay, I want to thank Mr. Tajuddin for this session. And I just want to quickly mention to the last person that asked a question that I have someone around me here that is also a Nigerian that works with one of the top audit firm or top consulting firm here in UK as a product manager. So if you are, maybe I will speak with Dr. Bankole if you can also bring her on board. So if you are interested in product management and you have yet to land a role here in UK, she might at least chip in some things. She came here too as a dependent on a student, and she eventually got a role with EY, and that was how she got her sponsorship. So if you are in any other field outside the ones that we have mentioned, we may not have technical competence in that area. But the way tech role works is that we have people that we work with in our team or people that we have amongst our connections that can support you in one way or the other. So thank you.
Is there any other person that wants to ask a question? I think Olawale, your hand is still up. Do you still have? Do you still have something to ask?
Oh, sorry, it's the old and it must have been pinning me. I will take it off now. Thank you.
All right. And Aminu is also raising his hand. You have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we are with you.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, all. Yeah. So I have a question. To Mr. Tajuddin. Okay. So please, what advice would you give someone that is actively applying for data engineering role, trying to balance between continuous learning and then learning data structure and algorithm and the other questions that usually come up during the interview? Because I notice most times when you apply to these roles, the first technical question you get has to do with data structure and algorithm. So how can one kind of like balance the two together?
So, yeah, I think we talk about the foundations, right? So, the first thing, if you're looking towards career path towards data engineers, data structure is also very important, which is part of, because when you learn programming, let's say, for example, your language of choice that you choose to learn is Python, right?
Okay.
Then you'll be able to learn all these things, all these data structure and everything within Python framework.
Okay.
Understanding that concept in Python can help you navigate to a different programming language very fast. So that's why focusing on one is crucial. Once you learn it, if you even want to learn a different language, you can be able to do that very fast. Then another skills, if you tending towards data engineering, is understanding SQL, right? SQL. So if you have all these foundations, so now if you're looking about the data management skills, you can start from anywhere and start applying, as I said, for entry level positions. So um, during the interview, I think someone should focus more on your problem solving skills, lay emphasis on your problem solving skills, because sometimes you might not get all the questions, but if they see that you have the problem solving skills and you can collaborate with different kind of people, they know that this is a field that you continue to learn and grow, right? So when
Yeah.
you are applying, most look um so the way you approach the interview is try to sell yourself that you can solve problems and you have what it takes to solve problems. Let down one you, because if you are just coming, that might be one of your selling points. And as you are doing one interview, you are also learning, because the more you attend an interview, you are also learning, because you'll be pondering on those questions, and you'll be able to think of what else do I need to learn, what other skills do I need to add to my toolbox. So I would just say, when you look at the data management skills, it is not linear. You can start picking any skills from one, uh, irrespective of, you can start with the data pipeline, you can start with a different thing. So, but the key thing is the foundations. That's a little bit linear. We talk about statistic and probability, we talk about learning a programming language, and we talk about SQL. So with those, once that foundation is there, there is no you can start with any of the data management skills.
So just to add, if I get Aminu very well, I think what you were asking was most related to all these initial programming that they give you, isn't it?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So is it? I mean, I mean, I know you've done some training and you got into the process of just applying for roles now. In your own case, what will be? I mean, you've known. I mean, where you are and what you need to know and what you need to learn to move forward. So, if that data structure and algorithm is not something that you've perfected, we used to recommend something. I mean, a book they call "Cracking the Coding Interview," and there are some GitHub that I mean you can also go through that will teach you how. I mean, all those algorithm and all those data structure, so that I mean, you get used to it, so that I mean, you can cross that bridge where you are presently. I don't know whether you are aware of those resources. We'll be sharing that.
Yeah, yeah,
Are you
yeah.
aware of those resources?
Yes, yes, I'm aware, I'm aware.
So I think those one will be useful for you if you've not been able to cross that road. It I mean, the cracking the coding interview and I mean, all those GitHub that has I mean, all those algorithm and data structure should be helpful. And you don't also key you should continuously be applying, because you might be lucky. Some some company you might not even do all those data structure and algorithm before you get into. I mean, they offer you a job. So don't let that stop you from applying to other companies. Apply as many as possible.
Okay.
So there are some companies that they will not even ask you all those data structure and algorithm question. So they focus mostly on your skills, your problem solving skill, because they know if you have the problem solving skill and that the can do attitude, you can learn anything and you can solve problem. That's what, because the industry is dynamic. They want people that are versatile, people that they are not just convenient with what they know today. I mean, they can learn new things as soon as possible within it. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. So I have somebody who's also putting his hand up. I think somebody Abiola, right?
Yes, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Sorry, I maybe the question I want to ask might have been answered or asked during the course of the lecture because I had to drive, so I was thrown out when I was driving. Sorry. Now, I I'm a trainee in business analysis and project management. Okay, initially when I wanted to join, I was planning to move into IT fully, but when I joined the training, I observed that it's not core IT. But later, when I mean joined the first class, I got to know that it's actually IT, but and we can leverage on that for some other things. Now the question now is that I want to join a team of interns whereby I'll be able to put into practice all that I've learned so far. I want to know if that is available currently. Then the last one is mentorship, like I mentioned, that in the internship, if available, can there be anyone that will tell get that sorry, that will like put us through that this is the next thing to do. So that is what I want to know. Sorry if it has been asked. I was off when it might have been. Sorry. Thank you.
So, so I will just say a little thing. Maybe I don't know if somebody else wants to take that question, but let me say there is a lot of internship that you can apply for to be able to apply. So you start applying for internship. It's always easy to get into an internship than applying for the main role. Then I will share a link in the forum later whereby uh, you can actually gain experience, although they will not pay you. You can enroll, select the discipline you want to gain experience. Then you can start because the way that is called code cloud engineer, they structure it in a way that can give people experience um, when you are not in the industry yet. Because when you get there, they will onboard you as if you are entering a company. They will do everything. I also share that with everyone here. So, but just keep applying for internship. There's a lot of internship out there. Then I think that would be a good way to start. If somebody else wants to take that,
So I think I can add to that. I mean, for your own case that you said being a business analyst and you've done some training. Like I've also mentioned this that we have two business analysts with us, and they're happy to uh, be mentor to guide you. But what we are doing is peer mentorship. It's not just individual. So we want to have people that are on the same level, so that when they are giving they are giving you projects to do, live projects, everybody in that group will do it. It's not that somebody will come one after the other. Instead of them, attending to five people and spending 1 hour, they don't have that time to spend 1 hour each, 5 hours for people individually. So we are still trying to identify what level each individual and their interests the member, their interests and the level they have. So once we identify that, we know these people, they've done the requisite. Like Mr. Ibrahim shared shared a link to a data analysis or data analyst training, that he said if people have gone through that, they can start to be building their portfolio, doing live projects and some other stuff like that. So if you are, I mean, at that level, because maybe it's going to be, maybe they will have like a requisite, maybe they will have to do some a kind of like informal interview to know the level you have before they start giving you that live project. Because yeah, so but mainly they won't be doing this individually, it has to be peer mentorship. So if they are giving live projects, it has to be in a group, not just individually. So I think I've answered your question.
Yes, yes, thank you.
So if I think there's no more question, right? So I mean, I will get I will speak to I mean, we'll get back to you, as the mentor will get back to you. I mean, uh, with respect to the interests and the level, we have to have a pool within in the group so that we know people that are just starting, people that just need road parts, and people that are anxious to start life projects, so that I mean they can start. Maybe there will be like an interview to know. I mean, informal interview to know what you've learned. Maybe you still need to learn more. They can tell you before they start giving you life projects for BA and business and business intelligence. I don't know if Mr. Ibrahim or Dr. Sunday want to add something. If maybe I've missed something, or did I miss anything? Miss-
No, I don't. For me, from my end, I don't think you have missed anything yet. Because it's good for us to know first what stage they are and the pool, because it will be challenging. We have 10 people, and the 10 people are at different levels, so you're going to be challenged with timing. So let's know the pool, let's know where they are, and see how we can have a structured program. We want to move everybody at the same pace without having too much kind of impact on the mentor, you know, time and all that. So
So yeah, I mean that's what I thought as well. That's and I've discussed with. I mean, I think Mr. Ibrahim is also in the same. I mean, also agree with us with that. That the peer mentorship is what will save time, and because everybody, we're just trying to help each other. I mean, we are kind of having thousand and one things to do at a point, but we pray that God help us to be able to achieve our aims by helping people. So I don't know if any other person has comments. If before we wrap it up, I think we've gone beyond the time. Mr. Ibrahim, want to add?
Yes, yes, sir. Just to remind Mr. Tajuddin about the link he wants to drop uh for learning. I mean, internship that you mentioned. Sorry, for the onboarding he mentioned earlier. Sorry, thank you.
I think Mr. Ibrahim also raised his hand, right?
Okay, I think for me, I just want us to know that the journey is for those that are resilient and committed. So you need to self motivate yourself. It's not whichever part you want to go through, whether it is the technical part or this non technical part. One thing we need to know is that it takes a lot of commitment and dedication from us. So nobody is going to feed us 100% to say, okay, or spoon feed us. So we need to be committed and dedicated towards this cause. So, and you should also realize the fact that we are volunteers. So, if you have made up your mind that you really want to do this, you need to motivate yourself. We have our stories. What is clear from all this conversation is that most of us never had technical background. I read economics, BSc, MSc economics, and for me, I had a background in finance before I transitioned into tech. So there is nobody that is special in any way. It's just God's grace. But we were also self-motivated. And that aside self-motivation, another thing I also want to mention is that if you are not ready to keep learning, then this might not be the right path for you. Because all the mentors here will agree with me that any idle time you have to learn. Weekend, evening, you have to wake up at time at the middle of the night to keep learning. So that is very, very important. So we need to be ready to keep learning to really work in any tech field. Because some organizations during interview, what they want to see is that self-motivation and the willingness and desire to keep learning. So may God assist us all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We can emphasize on that self motivation, motivation, and self determination and self commitment. There's no way. There's no two way about it. You need to, and you need to be open minded as well. And in the tech industry, like they've been emphasizing, is dynamic. If you are not the kind of person that like, I mean, learning new things, I mean, you can give it a try. By the time you get there, you know that you need to sit tight, and you need to continuously learn so that you can grow. Because you if you don't learn as you progress, I mean, you just be left maybe redundant or something. So I think with this we've gotten to the end of the event. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your time, and we appreciate all the mentors. Thank you so much, and God bless. We'll take it from there from the group. Thank you.
All right, cheers, everybody. God bless.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, thank you, thank you for the presentation. God bless. Yeah, cheers. Take a bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.